I'm going on a quest to find the weirdest book ever. Through a series of vlogs, I'm going to be documenting myself reading these weird books as I scour the internet to find recommendations. At the end of the year, I will rank the books from least weird to most weird. I'll also, of course, be ranking from best to worst. Now, first order of business, what do I classify as a weird book? Obviously, we all have different preferences, different ideas as to what a weird book is. I'm gonna make a mood board to kind of give you an idea as to what I'm looking for exactly. I'll take any excuse to make a fun little mood board. Let's go. My mood board. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory, but I am going to walk through the different things. Obviously, I want something that's strange, something unusual, something absurd, a little eclectic. I want it to have an unexpected quality to it, maybe some interesting prose, something unnatural, a unique structure, whether it's bringing in unique elements or just the way that the story itself is structured is just new and fresh. I want something trippy. I want themes being explored in strange ways. I want unusual atmosphere. I just want weird. That's what I want. Weird. But yeah, that's my concept. That's my mood board. These are the ideas that I have in my head as I am searching for the weirdest book ever. But let me know down below in the comments if you are a weird book reader, what you tend to look for in a weird book. We're starting this journey on Reddit. I feel like I am almost always running to Reddit to find recommendations on a wide variety of entertainment. And I know the book community over there has got to be booming with recommendations. Let's get some recs. Surprised to no one ever, I was able to come across like 50 posts about weird books. I took the most upvoted responses, threw those book titles in this mug. I'll be drawing one at random and sharing my experience reading this book with you. Let's pick a book. I'm a little bit nervous. There were quite a few titles that I was familiar with, but then there were quite a few titles that I've never heard of before, so who knows what I'm getting myself into here. Let's give it a mix. Let's give it a shake. Here we go. Ow. I choose you. The book I picked is If on a Winter's Night Traveler. The mood reader in me is like, winter in the title? I have to read this book during winter time, but I'm gonna try to push my mood reader self aside and just allow myself to read this book. Since I don't own this, I'm going to see if my library has it. Please come through. They got it. Success. Let's go to the library. I got the goods, or the singular good. I got the book is what I'm trying to say, okay? In this book, two readers are trying to reach the end of the same book, that book being If on a Winter's Night, a Traveler. The two find themselves chasing down missing chapters, they end up getting tangled up in an international conspiracy, and dealing with several roadblocks in attempting to read their books. I'm used to getting interrupted while reading my books, like that is not a new thing for me, but this is like a whole new level of being interrupted. Because what do you mean you're getting tangled up in international conspiracy? I need to know more. Desperately. I'm super excited to get into this one. I will keep you guys updated on all my thoughts throughout the reading process. Let's get to reading. Is it worth it? Should I keep reading it? Is it going to have me clawing my eyes out? These are not questions that you want to be asking as you are reading a book, but here I am asking myself these questions. I'll explain further in a second. I've made it to page 88, chapter 5, and so far, it's confusing. I've been really having to pace myself with this one, just reading it in little spurts because it makes my brain hurt. I do love a challenging read, but I don't know if I love a book where I'm having to like wade through rough waters to kind of try and find a clear picture of what's going on. Like, that's not necessarily fun for me. This is a tricky situation because there are elements of this story that I'm really enjoying, but then there are a lot of other elements that I'm really not enjoying. And it's so fascinating because there's a writing style that's woven in that I really like, but then there's also a more confusing and convoluted writing style that's worked in. And I really don't vibe with that. There's a specific element and narrative that focuses on reading and writing, and I really love that. Then there's all these other things that are happening that's just too much all at once. That's just like flooding in and making things, again, really confusing. So it's just one of those things where it's back and forth. Depending on which chord I'm in, I'm either enjoying it or I'm really just confused as to what's happening. There are moments when the writing style really reminds me of Lemony Snicket's writing style. And that narration is when we are talking about books and writing. I feel like that really reminds me a lot of Lemony Snicket, and I love those moments. I love that nostalgic nature to it. So I'm pretty sure this book was probably published way before a Lemony Snicket book was published. Yeah, the English translation is from 1981. The story is built up on story fragments. We are following two different readers who are trying to track down these different like strings of these narratives and trying to come and tie them together. While I still feel a little bit confused, I think what I've gathered so far as to what this book is kind of trying to portray is this message that like everybody can read the same book and have a different outcome with it. Everybody can read the same book and have a different experience with it, have different thoughts, have different opinions on the story, which I feel like more people need to be reminded of that. I'm not saying it's you, but if you've ever heard somebody sharing their thoughts on a book and interjected by telling them, you're wrong, this is what it's about, this is what it means, this is how it affected me, this is what the book is trying to do, not what you were saying it's trying to do, then it is in fact you. This is an attack on you. Respectfully. So my conclusion so far is that there are writing bits that I really enjoy. Again, specifically when he's talking about reading and writing, there's so many moments in here that I wish I could mark up. Obviously, I'm not going to. This is a library book. We do not annotate books that we do not own on this channel, but we do get tempted, I must admit. Little bits like this, I love. I eat up. He says, listening to someone read aloud is very different from reading in silence. When you read, you can stop or skip sentences. You are the one who sets the pace. When someone else is reading, it is difficult to make your attention coincide with the tempo of his reading. The voice goes either too fast or too slow. And he just like goes on like a bigger spiel there, but there's just so many elements like that where he's just talking about different things when it comes to reading, how you experience things differently when you're reading. Just like little things like that, like I love it. I love those bits. But there are just like a lot of other things that have come in and kind of like clouded my enjoyment of the book. And I'm not gonna lie, I have questioned if I should DNF this book. I did reading sprints with my channel members and I was talking about going back and forth on if I should DNF it. A lot of them said that I should DNF it, but I just can't get myself to do it for some reason. I think it's because I just have this theory that all of it is going to come together in the end in a way that will make sense, in a way that will make me have like an aha moment by the end of it, and I feel like it'll make me want to go back and reread the book. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna hold out hope though and just keep reading, see what happens. I don't have many plans for the weekend. I do just kind of want to like relax and chill and read, so I'm definitely gonna be finishing this book this weekend. I'm getting ready to go to a comic book store because I've realized that I have a lot of like local comic book stores that I didn't even know about, and I want to visit them and just see what they're like. So that's the plan today. Going to a cafe tomorrow, I think. Other than that though, we're mostly just chilling. We're mostly just relaxing and hoping to finish If on a Winter's Night a Traveler. I will update you guys when I get a little bit further and see if things have clicked a little bit better.
fade away.
It's update time. I got to page 165, and I will say that I'm a little less confused. Like, I still am having a hard time grasping everything that's going on. I'm going to be so for real with you guys. But I think I kind of am understanding what this book is trying to do. I think the best way to sum up this book is just with the word experimental. It is experimental from beginning to end, and it definitely strays away from like a normal format of a story structure. And I can't say if it's really working necessarily, because I feel like a majority of the time while I'm reading it, I just feel quite lost. I honestly feel like this could be one of those books though where things don't necessarily like fully click until you do a reread of the book. Like, I'm sure that there are some people that will read this book and won't have any trouble putting two and two together, but for people like me who are reading this book and feeling lost and confused, I feel like we're not going to get a full picture of the book unless we reread it and have a second time to process the book. So I will say that it's gotten a lot better the farther I've gotten into it. It's gotten a little bit clearer, a little bit easier to follow. But I'm still confused at times. Like, me saying that does not mean like everything is making sense, because like that is not what I'm saying. Trust me on that. I'm feeling a little bit better about it. I'm definitely planning to finish this book today. I have like 80 pages left. And because this is the first part in finding sort of the weirdest book I can find, I don't really have much to compare it to. So far it's in first place, but in my mind it's in last place currently. Mostly because I just don't know if it's my kind of weird or the weird that I'm looking for. I'm feeling what's making it weird and different is sort of the structure and how it just kind of like breaks the norm of a novel structure and brings in its own flavor. Last night I went to a comic book store in my town. I didn't end up picking up anything, but that's because I literally have so many that I haven't read yet. Picked up a bunch when I was in St. Louis recently. I went to this comic book store that was like top notch. They had so many things. I've only read one from this stack so far, and I felt just okay about it, but I feel like I'm just not used to the comic book format, so I need to kind of give it some more time to like fall into the flow of comic books. Because when I typically read comic books, I read them in trade paperbacks where they're complete or where they have like 5 volumes, so I feel like I get a lot out of them and I kind of like understand what they're trying to do. But only reading one issue, you're just getting like a slice of the story, so it's hard to be like, I hate this comic book series or I love this comic book series, because it's just not enough time to like connect to the characters or connect to the storyline. But anyway, the one comic that I have read from my St. Louis haul, from my St. Louis stack here, is Ranger Academy. It's a Power Ranger focused story, and I just thought it would be a lot of fun. I just did not really like fall in deep with the first issue, but again, I think I have to give it a couple issues, and I picked up issues 2 and 3, I think, so I will be reading those soon. I've been really wanting to find a comic book series that I can follow in a traditional sense, where I get the issues instead of just buying the trade paperbacks, but I just feel like I don't know where to start, so I'm figuring that out. I'm figuring out my comic book journey. After I went to the comic book store, I came back and watched The Goonies, one of my all-time favorite movies ever. It's not aged all that well, like there's aspects of it that I'm like, ooh, this is definitely a film of its time, but it's still like charming and fun, and I love that like feel of adventure. I feel like there's a lot of things that have come out in recent years that like feel like they were inspired by The Goonies. So The Goonies is a trendsetter. The Goonies is that girl, okay? Okay. Then this morning I went to this like really whimsical cafe. I don't even know the name of the cafe, but it's like at a flea market. There's like a little like tea room situation, and it's like Alice in Wonderland themed. It was very whimsical and weird. I had a delicious sandwich and some delicious peach tea. 10 out of 10 will in fact be going again. The rest of my day I'm going to be devoting to this book. I'm going to be finishing it, and I will update you guys on my full thoughts once I'm done. I finished If on a Winter's Night a Traveler, and I'm actually surprised that I'm leaving it kind of appreciating it. That's not to say that I'm going to be running around recommending this book to everyone ever, because I think it is for a specific type of person, a specific type of reader, and I don't even think that I'm the specific type of person that it's trying to reach. But I did really appreciate what this author brought to the table with this book after kind of getting to the end and seeing a bigger picture as to what he was trying to do. I feel like I just have an appreciation for it. I like that the author was playing around with different formats. He wasn't sticking to the norm. In fact, he was kind of breaking down the norm and doing his own thing. I feel like that really brought in some freshness. Mind you, it does bring in a lot of confusion. There were so many themes and messages tucked away throughout this book that I loved when it came to like the publishing industry, when it came to being a reader. Some of the publishing aspects, I feel like he really kind of came for publishing in terms of like how they control what gets into the hands of readers, and how a lot of it sort of fits this kind of like mainstream ideal, and how that can be really constricting to artists and how it can hold them back from unleashing their creative powers. But it also just got me thinking a lot about how there's a bigger player at hand here behind publishing companies, and there's so much control into what does get into the hands of readers. It is exciting to be living in a time when like self-publishing has taken off. I feel like it's opening up the door to a lot more variety and a lot more different and unique stories to be told. Even though I'm leaving this book with much more of an understanding for what the author was trying to do, and also a bit of an appreciation for what the author did with this book, I'm not leaving it loving it. I feel like I'm giving this book like a 2.5 star rating. That's kind of where I am in my mind. I loved a lot of the messages that were delivered, but I don't know that I loved the delivery. Despite the fact that I was loving the fact that it was like doing something unique and bringing something fresh to the table and kind of breaking down the norm of storytelling, it's a book that for me was just kind of laced in confusion, and I just had a hard time kind of breaking down the walls and getting to a point of understanding. So it was a lot of work on my end. It's definitely a weird book, and I understand why it was recommended as a weird book on Reddit, but it's not exactly what I want out of a weird book, though it is currently in first place because it has zero competition. I'm interested to see what the next book for this series is going to be, and who is going to be If on a Winter's Night a Traveler's rival. That's it for the first episode of me trying to find the weirdest book ever out there. At some points throughout this series, I will be reading y'all's weird book recommendations, so if you have a weird book in mind that fits my criteria — unusual, strange, unique structure, trippy, absurd, unexpected, eclectic, unnatural — then drop a recommendation for me down below in the comments. If you like this video, be sure to go and hit that like button. If you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe or go and hit that bell icon, and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope your day is bright, that tomorrow is brighter. Keep reading what your heart desires, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye.